Hello, 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 hello. It is Wednesday, and it is time for. Oh, I guess I should actually turn my TV off. I was watching TV. Let me know who's here. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Speaker Catherine Mitchell, let me know you're good to go, and that you can hear and see me fine while I pull up my other screen to make sure we are live. So I'm live on YouTube. I'm live on where am I? Facebook Live. Somebody tell me, hey Tanya, Davin, Dr. Allie. All right, somebody tell me something. Hear you just fine. Let's rock and roll. This is Pimp Your PR Wednesday. I am TJ Mercer, your host, your guide. I'm known as the chief noisemaker of Media Mavericks Academy, and that's where I teach authors, experts, coaches, and entrepreneurs how to book themselves in the media without a publicist and without being a celebrity. And my Mavericks have appeared on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, CW. The Doctors have a Maverick that's was just on the Doctors, Dr. Oz. You name it. That's pretty much what I do. So let's get rocking and rolling. If this is your first time here, put things in the chat. If you have questions, I'll keep my eye out on the chat. If you want to share with your peeps, you can do that as well. So today's media tip, and we will have a guest next week. I confirmed we have a guest. I'm not going to tell you about her just yet, but yeah, we'll have a guest next week. But today's media tip really came straight out of two things from yesterday. One, Stacey Abrams' rebuttal to the State of the Union. Now listen. It does not matter what side of the political spectrum you are on. I don't care. This is just what we can learn from it. And the second thing that happened was somebody in one of my speakers group asked a question which said that she didn't like the sound of her voice. That was the first thing. And the second thing is she had several ums. When she listened back to a podcast interview she had done, she had several ums. So that made me think, well, you know what? I know a little something about that. How about we talk about it? So first up, Miss Abrams, what I want you to take away from, how many of you actually saw? Did you see Stacey Abrams' rebuttal yesterday? And again, I want to actually drive the point forward that it has nothing to do with your political leanings. Speaker Catherine Mitchell says, what is your speakers group? This was Black Speakers Rock. One of my Mavericks has a group called Black Speakers Rock, so I'm in there. That's what it was. So if you watched Miss Abrams, she was flawless. She was flawless on her delivery. However, I don't necessarily want that to be your standard. Here's why. She was reading off of a teleprompter. That's the first thing. So she was not necessarily answering questions on the fly. And the uhs, the ahs, the ums tend to come out when you're answering questions on the fly. That's the first thing. The second thing is she probably had practiced that speech backwards, forwards, sideways, left. She had been drilled. She had been coached endless times. So reading off of a teleprompter, but I'm going to give girlfriend credit. There was not an in sight. All right. Let's be clear. None of that was anywhere in sight. But I know that also comes from when you actually are reading off of a teleprompter, you've used to being an orator, you know that speech like the back of your hand, then yeah, I would expect you to be able to read flawlessly. Not taking anything from her, but I wanted to point that out. Now, here's what I want you to take away and learn from that, though. The first thing is, you heard me say that she probably practiced that thing backwards, forwards, and sideways. That is no different for you when you are actually speaking. You know, if for those of you who are here are speakers, or if you're doing media interviews, you have to practice your sound bites. And if you don't know what sound bites are basically yummy nuggets of information that the media can devour, and that your audience can track and follow along. Because you've heard me say this before, a TV interview is 3 to 5 minutes. If you've got oodles of information floating up in this head, you don't have time to tell it all. So when you actually practicing, you are practicing your sound bites, meaning if you know what kind of questions are coming, if you're one of my Mavericks, you know we submit suggested questions. I've done that Facebook Live maybe a couple weeks ago, what you need to submit. One of them for submit for interviews. One of them is your suggested questions. You know the suggested questions that are probably coming. So you should have practiced your sound bites. Speaker Catherine Mitchell, what are sound bites? Is that after I said what it is, or do I need to go back and explain it? I have no problem with going back. I just want to make sure that was after I actually explained it. I need to join your masterclass. Well, baby, come on. We got openings, honey. You can actually start. I don't know who I have here who's familiar with me. Can you type in for Catherine, MediaMavericks.com? No, MediaMavericks.tv/B12. That's how you kind of will start getting information from me about working in my masterclass. Now, but you want to practice your sound bites backwards and forwards. Those things, and my Mavericks know. Dr. Allie, she will attest to this. I expect your sound bites to be so embedded in your DNA that if I call you at 2 a.m. in the morning, you should be able to, thanks, Dr. Allie, you should be able to regurgitate what your talking points are. That's how it's in your DNA. That's one way you get rid of the ums, the ahs, and other filler words. That's way number one. Way number two is you record yourself. You record yourself speaking. If you're not doing Facebook Lives, thanks, Dr. Tanya. If you're doing Facebook Lives, if you're doing YouTube Lives, your speaking engagements, whatever it is, you need to record yourself so that you can play it back. Because if your ums and your ahs and your filler words are so embedded in you, you don't even realize you're saying it in general conversation. Now, let me address the question from that group that says she doesn't like the sound of her voice. Most of my clients, including myself, when I really started speaking and recording and seeing myself and hearing my voice, I was reading my audiobook, we don't like the sound of our voice. And I remember when I was working on a show I forget what show I was working on, but I got into a conversation with one of the voiceover artists who he probably still does, John Kramer, but he's a voiceover talent for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and a whole bunch of other shows. And so he was the one that really brought it to my attention that most people do not like the sound of their voice. You get used to it. You get over yourself. You're just being self-conscious about it. Some people have wonderful voices that people love to listen to. I didn't like the sound of my voice, but when I was going to a big mega church, they used to love to have me do the announcements because my voice carries, I command a room, and I just got used to it. So I want to address that. The other thing that this came out of also is my own experience with it, that I was doing What was I doing? I was at this event, not knowing that a great percentage of the audience were also enrolled in Toastmasters, right? And I was supposed to get up and do a 2 to 3 minute pitch, not knowing I am in a room. Dr. Alley says, until TJ asked me to say, I love hearing Dr. Alley talk. And I will ask her on some of our live with the Media Mavericks Masters. I will say, Dr. Alley, can you just say the ABCs to me? So I love Dr. Alley's voice. She has that raspy, New Yorker voice. I just like to hear her. I like to hear her talk. So anyway, I was giving a 2 or 3 minute pitch for an event at this bigger event. At the end of the night of all the pitches, unbeknownst to me, I'm in a room full of people with Toastmasters plus one of the main guys. He was their Toastmaster coach, and at the end of the night they started announcing how many people, how many ums or ahs or uhs were in each person's talk that they had on the stage. And I was like, uh-oh, I didn't know we were being judged. And they got to me and I had not a one. They were like, you didn't say one. So, but that comes from the things that I'm teaching you here. So I've recorded myself, and I hate actually sitting down and watching videos. So to sit down and watch a video and then have to watch me, or to listen back to something that I have recorded of myself, I don't want to be bothered. But if I'm serious about sounding professional, sounding like I know what I'm talking about, sounding like I'm credible, I know that that was what was required. I remember at Doreen Rainey's Get Radical event one year. And I won't say the speaker's name, but you would have to be living under a rock to not know this woman, because she's on a very popular show, but she's clearly not a speaker. She commands thousands of dollars worth of speaker fees, but the whole consensus of the room afterward as we were talking was, if she goes and it was like, can you stop smacking your lips? And because it becomes distracting, that you're not paying attention to the content. You're paying, well, when's the next time she's gonna go and so it really is an art form that you have to just practice. Okay, so record yourself. Dr. Alley says, so as a speech therapist, we try to avoid the fillers, but as a speaker of it comes out, I move past it. Practice definitely helps also. Absolutely. I'm going to tell you what else helps. When you pause, when you feel the filler coming. Pause when you feel the filler coming. So you've even noticed it here. Like, I'll take a pause because I feel the coming. Now, for me, the comes mostly when I'm answering a question, or I'm not really sure what my next thought is going to be if I'm not speaking from something I planned on speaking. But it really is just take a beat. You feel it coming. Put your tongue down in the bottom of your mouth. Hey, Coach Denise, put your tongue down in the bottom of your mouth and just don't say it. It may sound a little weird or feel a little weird, but it really is a pregnant pause. And no one is uncomfortable with it except you. You're the only one that's uncomfortable with it. So it's just a pregnant pause for you to just kind of take a beat, think about what you're going to say, as opposed to being uncomfortable in that space. Now, here's another thing that I notice sometimes with my clients, especially my clients who work with me one-on-one on soundbite training. Denise says, dropping the goodness like usual. Steady she is. I just love you. I miss you. So everybody has their own handicap word, I guess, for lack of a better word. Is that unpolitically correct? Or, but It's kind of like their word that their go-to. That's their safety word, their comfort word, I guess. So one of my clients is her safety word was whenever she would get ready to answer a question, she would go, "Yes, absolutely," and then she then answer the question. So every question, is, what color is the best color for television? Absolutely. So the best color for television is, red, or something like that. And so everybody has that what's the word I'm looking for? That dependent word. What's the word I'm looking for? Somebody give me a word for it. What's the word I'm looking for? That is the word you rely on. Some people go to, do you understand what I'm saying? Right? Or we were walking down the street, right? And so everything ends with right. You have to be a crutch. Okay, good. Oh Lord, Tajiri. I'm brutalizing your name. Please forgive me, but you have to actually just be conscious of. That's why it's key that you. Hi, Yolanda. That it's key that you practice your sound bites. Denise, I think, and Yolanda were there with that speaker at Doreen Rainey's Get Radical. Don't say her name, but they were there, and we all came out going. If she goes, and if she does it one more time, okay. So that is. I told you about the pause. You want to pause when you feel like the feeler is coming. Okay. The next one is eliminate it out of your everyday conversation. Here's where you're going to need help. Again, you're not aware of it. So it may be difficult for you to self-check, self-regulate yourself. Let your friends know. You remember that, Yolanda? Yolanda's like, girl, yes. You remember that? Let your friends know that who you're in everyday conversation with. Let them know what is going on so that they can be in tune to listening. So when it's time for you to speak, you've eliminated it out of your everyday conversation. So then it's second nature. The reason why I can effortlessly, almost really, unless I intend on get rid of my uhs, my ahs, and all of that, is because I have eliminated it out of my day-to-day conversation. It's kind of like you want to practice how you're going to play. All right. So you want to make sure that you solicit your pals that you talk to on a regular basis. You want to make sure you let them know, listen, I'm trying to be a better speaker. I'm trying to get ready for my media interviews. So can you help me? Can you help me by flagging anytime I go, right, just those words that you rely on. The next one, how many more? Okay, this is the last one. The next one is you make eye contact. It's really difficult to lose your train of thought when you're fully engaged with someone. So when I'm on stage and I'm speaking, rarely do I ever stay on stage. Rarely. Like, I have to be forced and confined. Like, one of my speaker requests when I accept an engagement is I need a cordless mic or a mic with a long cord, something, because when I'm walking around the room and I'm connecting one-on-one, so that I want that audience to feel totally engaged with me. And even here on a Facebook Live, you can tell I'm typically always looking at the camera right here. I'm always looking at the camera. I'll look over. I got YouTube Live going on. I'll look over at YouTube Live. I'm not looking at myself on the screen, as hard as that is, because I'm so cute. I'm not looking at myself on the screen. I'm looking directly in the camera because my goal and my intention is to directly connect with you. So I want you to feel as though Even though there are other people here listening, I want you to feel as though, Dr. Allie, I'm only talking to you. Yolanda, I'm only talking to you. Brenda, I'm only talking to you. Catherine, I'm only talking to you. And that way I stay engaged is I'm totally zoned in into who I am speaking with. Okay? So that is, I don't know how many, I didn't even count the tips. There was one more that I just had. Hold on, let me think. Where I was like, oh, here's one of the things I teach my Mavericks. I'll give you guys this one. And I got this tip from one of my hosting coaches. And she would make us read out loud for 20 minutes every day. And I would read out loud while I was on the treadmill. But anything, just read it out loud, because you'll also get used to hearing your voice. And then you'll start learning what words give you a problem to stumble over. So like one of my words, I couldn't say interesting. So I always go interesting. But now, because I read it out, I would read them out loud. I'm reading out loud. I would get used to, okay, I have a problem with that word. This word, I have to take a breath before I try to pronounce it. So when you're reading out loud, you then will start beginning to see what words give you problems. When you're when you're working on a talk that you're going to give, you need to give the talk out loud. Every story that I tell, except for when I do Facebook Lives, I don't really run the Facebook Lives out loud. But if it's something that I'm going to do on stage, or if it's something that's really, really crucial, not saying that y'all ain't crucial. I'm not saying that either. But if it's something that is for a big audience, I am a storyteller. I practice my stories. I act them out. Because I'm very animated, I need to know at what point am I going to get out of breath. Right, Denise? Denise has coached me. Denise who's here. Denise has coached me for one of my shows that I did called The Round. And it was for Centric at the time, but Centric is now BET Her. And there was a part where, I was mimicking choking myself. She had me drilling that thing constantly. Denise is right. Practice does not make perfect. Practice makes permanent. And so we would drill that thing over and over and over again. So that then by the time I got ready to deliver it, it was such second nature that I could do it in my sleep. I knew how much pressure I could put on my neck. Remember when we were yes, and we're up in your hotel room late at night getting me ready for this talk. And it came from just practicing it and doing it out loud. You cannot really tell how it's going to flow, how it's going to sound if you're just running them over in your head. Now, when I'm getting ready to do a media interview that I know is like the back of my hand, I've done it, 50 gazillion times. I don't necessarily do that out loud. But I still will go walking with my notes, go back over my talking points to make sure that I know what they're all supposed to be. All right. So somebody said I gave you 6. Dr. Allie says, so because I have an accent, some words just tie me up. I rely on compensatory strategies like TJ is coaching. Yes. Okay. So let's review. I think did I address everything I wanted to tell you guys? We talked about how Stacey Abrams was flawless. We talked about how most people don't like the sound of their voice. And then these are the tips that I am giving you to release the ums, the ahs. And then one of my tells, I'll tell them myself. One of my tells, sometimes, that was legit. But one of my tells is when I'm thinking, I'll scratch my nose. And I try to be conscious of it. Like, don't scratch your nose. Before every answer, if somebody's asking me a question that I hadn't prepared or I hadn't thought about, the first thing I'll do is go do this. But I'm conscious of it, so I've semi-broken myself of it. But you have to just pay attention to those little idiosyncrasies because they come across on camera. You'll notice those things on camera, especially if it's repeated. Okay, if you're doing it repeatedly, you will notice those things. All right, so let's review. Let us review the first way to eliminate ahs and rights and everything else out of. Dr. Allie says she looks up. Who else knows some of their tales of what they do when they're thinking? Denise says she looks to the side. Good. The beautiful thing is we know what these are so we can be aware of them. Okay, so you want to record yourself. If it's audio, you want to record yourself so that you can hear how many times you may have said in one interview because you're so used to doing it that you don't even notice it. Denise says, I did pretty good when I was on Fox 5, but I was nervous as a mug. That's because at the time you didn't have TJ in your life. Tanya says, I pause and take a breath. Okay, gotcha. Linda says, she looks up and to the right. Eric says, he looks up. Okay, so you're conscious of them. That's good. We can work with that. You're conscious of it. That's why when I do my soundbite trainings for my one-on-one clients, I have to have Zoom. We have to do it on video because I need to see what they're doing. Yolanda says, Denise is an educator. She's going to be able to glean a lot of our presentations, blocks, value added needed. Catherine says, I look to side or down. Yep. Okay, second thing I taught you is you have to practice your sound bites. You have to practice your sound bites. In any interview that's in your brand, in your lane of genius, there should be some non-negotiable sentences that are going to come out of your mouth every time. Jasmine says her default is, mine is, that's a great question. I got you, Jasmine. I got you. Yep, that's what we can do. Denise says, very true. I'm not TJ, but I'm a beast too. Yes, you are, Miss Ma'am. Got you, Yolanda. Okay, so you're going to practice your sound bites. This is not the time for you to wing it. If it's in your lane of genius, you should have pre-prepared sound bites for your interview, okay? Then the third one was pause when you feel the filler is coming. Put your tongue down in the bottom of your mouth and just let it rest. Rest your tongue. Okay? Rest your tongue. It needs a break because you've been talking forever. And it's going to sound like it's going to sound like it's a bit weird for you, but it's not. All it is just a pause. You're not going to lose your audience. You're not. You're going to just sound more credible because you're not trying to fill the space with ums, ahs, and uhs. And then